Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Classics with Courtney, and thank you for joining me for video 2 of Biblical Month. Today, we are going to be reacting to Esther and the King from 1960, starring Joan Collins and Richard Egan. I believe I saw this movie several years ago, and I honestly have no recollection of it except for a couple scenes here and there. So I thought this would be a perfect time for me to react and share my reaction with you guys and see how I do with the film. So let's go ahead and get started.
Take him to his house.
It is against the will of Haman, the king's chief minister. He demands an example to all who cannot pay their taxes.
Haman's will offends the will of God.
You heard the executioners. 10 of us will die if we remove him.
Yes, I heard them, Nathan. Would you rather live in fear for the rest of your life? Cut him down and take him home.
Oh, my
Haman! I dreamed of the day that you would return, but the dream wasn't like this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
So we got a couple things going here so far. One, Esther is played by Joan Collins, and I'm sorry, I'm not the biggest fan of her. I personally would have preferred Yvonne DiCarlo in the role, or heck, even Deborah Paget, who both were in the Ten Commandments. I think they would have played the role better. 2, Esther in the film is betrothed before she is taken for the king, along with many other girls. This is not biblically accurate. She was not already betrothed when she was taken, and I don't even know why they had to add that. And 3, we already established that Haman is quite the brute by showing people examples of how they should be behaving by taking the lives of people who can't pay their taxes. This again is not biblically accurate.
I trust you, Prince Haman. If I fall, you will lose your head too.
But what of your other lovers? My queen's diversions have caused much gossip.
But who will stand forth to testify? Their bloody heads would hang from the royal gates. My king, my beloved husband, how long I've waited.
Adulteress.
What? Have you gone mad?
No, I have my senses or I'd kill you. You've shamed this palace with your corruption.
Someone has filled your head with lies.
Truth, not lies. The soldiers of my replacements told me, men who fought and died, they had no reason to lie.
So, I get creative licenses, Hollywood, whatever. I don't necessarily think you had to make Vashti a harlot in order for the king to get rid of her. Again, biblically speaking, all that happened was that he called for her and she refused to go see him. To me, that just paints someone who is very stuck on herself and just like, I don't care what the king says. Biblically speaking, that was enough.
Get the one in the wedding gown. The one in the wedding gown.
Leave me alone. Oh, let me go.
Esther.
Let me go. Oh.
Esther, hurry up.
Simon. Simon. Oh. Let me go. Stop it. Simon. Simon. Simon.
Vashti was not killed in her sleep. She was banished. Also, Esther was not taken just before she was going to be married. She was taken along with the other virgins in Persia.
Stop!
may go. Wait. That face of light. I remember.
The man who fought the gods. You can't be the king.
I sometimes wish I weren't. What do you call?
Esther.
Once again, despite the inaccuracies to the actual Bible and the Book of Esther, I really do enjoy the scene. I like the way they work off each other. I do like the way the scene is kind of handled. The way that all the ladies are, moved out because he's not happy with them, but she's the fairest one, supposedly, and he chooses her. Except in the Bible, she won the king's heart because she was so fair and beautiful. In the film, it's more or less depicted that he already saw her and she was crying, so he kind of sympathized with her a little bit, and then her beauty kind of worked into that. I guess that's what they're doing here. But again, I don't mind the scene. This is one of those scenes I actually do watch occasionally. So I kind of like the way they handle the scene a little bit.
I'm in no danger, Uncle Mordecai. So far, he's shown nothing but kindness to me.
You do not know him as I do. His violence can be great.
You see him as a man among men. You do not see him as I do, through a woman's eyes.
Oh, surely such a quick defense could only spring from affection.
I can't deny that I am attracted to him by some power that I don't understand. I've tried to believe that it's simply power of admiration.
I am here officially, my dear, to bring the king's word that he will visit you at the 10th hour. But there is still time for us to know one another.
You must be mad. This can destroy you.
And Osiris also, if you force me to tell him that you often invite me to share your lonely evening hours.
You're such a liar, he'd never believe you.
You're no match for me in this game, Esther. Mine is a life of hazard, so please, do not aggravate me. Our king is happy with his faith in you. Let us keep him so.
Well, then get out. Get out of here. I'll call the guards.
You won't. Because I would tell Osiris that it was his loyal Haman who summoned the witnesses.
Haman is a brute. He is one of the most cruelest people in the Bible. But when you take this character and just we're going to go ahead and make this character even worse by making him have an affair with the first wife of the king. Now he's trying to do it with Esther? Are you serious? You did not need to add that. There is enough drama in the actual book of Esther. You did not need to add all of this stuff to make it more dramatic.
I have gathered you here to pay homage to Esther, my queen. She has given me a new vision of my Persia, which I never before looked upon with eyes of justice. Now I see it.
There is, within the confines of Persia, a people called Judeans who defiantly worship an alien god. The law is clear. They must be annihilated. And by your command, sire, I can destroy these people and enrich you by 10,000 talents of silver.
No. This law is of a cruel age. Long before our King of Justice sat upon the throne. Deny it, sire. Cast it out, I beg you.
Listen not to him, my lord. I pray you. For he is one of the Judeans.
Osiris.
The law! It is written, for any woman, even unto the queen, who interrupts royal counsel, there is but one decree, and that is death.
Complete the text. Except for her to whom the king holds out the golden scepter.
I remember well the day you entrusted him with it. Mark you, sire, your private plan for seizing the Grecian port at Athos, copied in Greek. And here a message in Hebrew to a Judean in Greece.
Lies, all lies, my king. I am your loyal, your faithful servant.
Much too trustful, sire. Even in your choice of a new queen.
What do you know, Esther, of Mordecai's treason?
The only treason here, Aziris, is Haman's. He's the one that should be on trial, but under laws far above this palace. You speak of deceits. You deceived me with your gift of the kingdom of mercy. You've given it to Haman, and he's filled it with wickedness.
Do you realize, Esther, that you could be put to death for speaking out in this chamber?
Yes, and I don't ask you to hold out your scepter to me because I shall die anyway. I am a Jew.
Esther. Esther, renounce your faith and live. Speak the whole truth.
I speak truly. Haman was the genius of all our crimes against you. Your intended murder, the thieving at Persepolis, the selling of your strategies to the Greeks. He forged the false evidence against Mordecai and offered a price for your own royal head.
Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies.
Open the door! Open up!
Seize him. Hang him. Hang him high.
Simon wouldn't have your sorrow, nor would he have you bring sorrow to the king. I know that although Aziris gave you a choice of remaining here, it was his secret wish that you would return to him. When you didn't, he went away to the wars, because he cared not whether he lived or died.
Have you heard anything from the battle?
Yes. Word of a Persian defeat by the Greeks.
Okay, maybe I'm being a little bit too harsh, but from a Christian perspective and biblically speaking, this is a really bad adaptation. But we're going to talk about both the biblical aspects of the film and as a film as a whole. Let's start with the actual film as a whole. It's not a good movie. It's very boring. No one seems to have any chemistry with each other, really. And it seems like the acting is a bit off. Like, it always seems like someone's being dubbed, but I don't really think that's the case. Apparently, the film was actually being filmed in Italy, I think, at the time, supposedly because there was a writer's strike in Hollywood during that time. So I guess that could explain the weird dialogue and how they seem to be dubbed a little bit. There's also, like, if you listen to the movie, there's emphasis on the actual, like, voice. Like, whenever somebody sighs, or, Joan Collins does the same when she's like, ah, or something like that. There's emphasis on that, which can be very awkward and weird. Um, so yeah, as a movie as a whole, it's not that great. And it's actually kind of disappointing because I actually like Richard Egan. I thought he was okay as the king, but he didn't have much to work with. And I think the script could have been better. The costumes for the film are actually quite lovely, and it's actually the best part of the film, although I did kind of enjoy the score. Now we're going to talk about the biblical aspects of it. I've already talked a little bit about the problems I had with it early, but we're just going to dive into it, okay? First off, Vashti was banished. She wasn't killed. Haman was not making out with the wives of the king. And again, when Esther is being taken, she isn't betrothed. There isn't another love interest between Esther, another guy, and the king. That didn't happen. They also miss the whole point of what made the story of Esther strong. Was she taken by force? Yes, like many other girls at that time. But God used her for his plan. She was chosen to be the king. She wasn't abused by him. She became someone that he fell in love with, and I believe maybe she could have fallen in love with him as well. She also was placed to protect her people, to help her people, because Haman at that time was very against the Jews, and he wanted to be rid of them. And Mordecai, who was Esther's uncle and a Jew, refused to bow down to Haman. So the conflict there was, okay, if he's not going to bow down to me, then he must be gotten rid of, which is why he made the cubit for the hanging and made it for Mordecai, which ironically Haman would be hanged on that particular cubicle in the end of the story, basically. And Esther, again, is brave because the king is someone that she kind of feared a little bit, and she needed that strength of the Lord to get to the point where he would listen to her. And when she tells him, listen, me and my people, we're about to be slaughtered because we're Jews. He didn't say, renounce your faith, Esther. He became angry. And when he knew it was Haman, when everybody was like, no, it was Haman. He's the one that made the order. Go. You're done. You hang him on what the cubicle that you wanted Mordecai to be hung on. The movie misses that point of the story. It's honestly disappointing. And in my opinion, the best depiction of the Esther story was the 2000 Bible collection. You guys need to watch that if you're all interested in the story of Esther. It is a well done movie. Now, another thing I am going to bring up is the Ten Commandments. Because I can already hear maybe some people are thinking, maybe even saying, Courtney, it's just a movie. They have to add it for drama. Okay, here's my problem. Let's take the Ten Commandments, directed by Cecil B. DeMille from 1956. That movie is not biblically accurate in many aspects either. But the stuff that they added into the movie, you can kind of see how it would make sense in the actual story of Moses. Yes, Moses was saved by Pharaoh's daughter, which is depicted in the film. The film then tells you, well, he became a prince of Egypt, and he happened to find out he was Hebrew, and then went to become a Hebrew. The Bible doesn't necessarily say this, but we don't know what happened in between that time. So you can kind of say, okay, it's not historically or biblically accurate, but it's something I can maybe buy. Okay, now as far as the romance is concerned with Anne Baxter, they kind of just threw that in. I could take it. It's fine. But a lot of the stuff that delves into, okay, you have the Baca character who's after Deborah Paget, or you have the story of Dathan who's after Deborah Paget. It's like, okay, This stuff is not necessarily biblical, but it makes sense for the story without actually messing with the biblical story. Then, of course, you go through, Moses goes into the desert, he meets his wife, he becomes, married, he has kids, and then the burning bush, and it goes from there. There's a lot of biblical moments in that movie that is accurate, and the stuff that's added is kind of, given that more of a character build, and it kind of makes sense if you're looking at it from a film adaptation. It's also a better made movie. You're talking about a movie directed by the Cecil B. DeMille. So if you compare the two, even though the Ten Commandments is not 100% biblical, there are moments that make it biblical while also adding to the actual story, which, biblically speaking, when you're talking Bible, it does tell you, do not add to these words, do not take away from these words. But if you're looking at it from a film perspective, it's fine for what it is. The story of Esther and the King from 1960, on the other hand, completely demolishes what the book of Esther was about. There is literally nothing in this movie that is accurate to the actual Bible. And to me, that is offensive. And again, you're talking like the casting. Again, Joan Collins to me was not a good casting for Esther. And I already said I would have preferred other actresses at that time. Now, supposedly she was a 20th Century Fox contract player. That is what I meant to say. But I'm sure there were other contract players for 20th Century Fox that you could have put in this movie that would have been 100 times better. Another thing I wanted to point out would be Mordecai. I do think that the actor playing Mordecai was great. It's just they messed up his story too. Mordecai didn't work for the king. He was outside the king's gates. But he does rescue the king by telling Esther. And Esther warns the king, and she's like, well, I didn't know until Mordecai told me. Therefore, he becomes kind of favored in the king, and, during that whole point. So, anyway, but Mordecai never actually worked for the king. So, again, you're just messing up the actual story of Esther. So, I'm sure you guys know by now, I don't like this movie. And I must say, though, at least I'm not alone. There's other people that I've seen on Letterboxd and on other platforms that have also stated that they didn't like the movie, that it's not that good, the acting isn't great. They do praise the costumes in some of the reviews, but it's not good. It's not a good movie. I don't like it, and I will never watch this adaptation again. So that wraps up my review of Esther and the King. I hope you took something away from this review other than me getting mad. But, yeah, we'll talk about a much better movie next time. So I will see you guys in my next video, and have a great weekend. Bye! Have a great and wonderful day.